Meeting of the Township Board to order. Will board members and guests please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, I was waiting for Mary to call the roll, but I haven't asked you to call the roll. First, we'll have a motion to excuse absent board members.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Would you like me to call the roll? Yeah.
Who they are?
Call the roll. Please. See, I'm out of practice. I missed last week.
Totally thrown. We can exchange seats again. I'm just telling you.
They said you like that power.
Yeah, she loves like rolling through those babies. Okay, sorry. Trustee Mohica. Trustee Cascarella. Present. Trustee Brewer. Present. Trustee Bowen. Here. Treasurer Fedewa. Clerk Clark is present. Supervisor Fletcher.
Here.
You have four.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now we'll have a motion to excuse absent members.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. We have the agenda before us. Any additions or deletions? If not, a motion to approve.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Is there support? There is
Support.
support. All those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. We have a whole variety of updates in our packet there for everybody to review. And the fact that that list is getting longer shows how much stuff is going on in the township. We have a lot of big projects underway right now. Public comment. Anybody in the audience would like to speak this evening on any topic? Not seeing anybody other than staff. We'll continue on now to the consent agenda. What's the pleasure of the board of consent? Wanda.
Supervisor Fletcher, I move to move the consent agenda with one change to pull out number 7.
Okay, is there support?
Support.
There is support. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on approving the consent agenda as amended?
Support.
Beth.
Trustee Brewer.
Yes.
Trustee Bowen.
Yes.
Trustee Cascarella.
Yes.
Trustee Mohica. Treasurer Fedewa. Clerk Clark is yes. Supervisor Fletcher.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now we'll move to item number 7 that was removed, the acceptance of updated utility agreements for Delta Crossings Phase 1 and 2. Go ahead.
Oh, go-
Yeah.
What just a conversation I wanted to have about Burlington's.
Mhm.
It looks like Burlington's is going to be, is that replacing the home store, that space? Or can you tell me a little bit about where I guess I was looking at our. Or Brian, tell me a little bit about that transition. I didn't know Burlington was leaving where they currently are.
Sure. Yeah, I can answer that, although Peter could answer it adequately as well. They are not taking the at-home space. They are taking, there's a empty lot in between Bob's Discount Furniture and Sierra.
Mhm.
So they will be building a new building in there. So in phase 1, there's still basically 3 lots. That one, there's one north of the Hobby Lobby. And then there's one more outlot that has not been completed from phase 1. And then in phase 2, it is the at-home building.
And is it a lease or are they purchasing the building for Burlington?
My understanding is it would be a lease.
And then do you know when that might take place? Any idea?
When the Burlington,
Mhm.
they are starting construction on it very soon. So with the hopes of Burlington being in there at the end of the summer.
Well, I love that there's growth here, although it's pretty congested down on this end. I'm always still concerned that we're the retail desert, if you will, what's taking place, that we're moving from one end to the other, and what might happen in that plaza where Burlington currently exists. But if this is good for them and it keeps them in the township, I'm all for it. But that concludes my question.
Okay, Beth.
Does any of this, and I just want to ask, so this is on the public record, does any of this utility agreement impact anything to do with the discussions we had about the CIA or development contracts, anything in the past?
So I guess depending on it, depending on how you look at it, so we have an existing utility agreement for phase one and phase two.
Mhm.
So and it's with the previous, so as you know, this project's been working through the legal process. And so currently those existing utility agreements are in a previous company's name.
Okay,
So these new utility agreements are just to finish the utilities in phase one and phase two, which is to our benefit to make sure that those get completed. There is a new partner involved. It is, K2, who was the original developer, is still involved, and they have a new partner, actually, Mansour Companies. And that is who the signatory is on the, utility agreements. So this basically transfers those utility agreements out of West Lansing retail. So, but as far as impacting any previous discussions or not, I guess, not really. I guess those would be future discussions.
figured. So this is basically changing the names on the agreement, but nothing substantive about the agreement?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
As far as the utility agreement.
Right.
And then we have been working with the new partners and the old, partner to complete other items around there. So now that the picture has become more clear, punch list items, they paid all their, previous, taxes in the phase one and phase two. They'll be working towards the cleanup of the at-home site.
Great.
And some other additional items such as getting the, marketplace that has not transitioned over to Eden County Road Commission yet, but that will be on their list as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anybody like to make a motion to approve that item then?
Unless I don't know. Oh, okay. I move that the Delta Township Board approve the municipal utility agreements submitted by Delta Crossings 1 and 2 LLC. I further move that the township supervisor and clerk be authorized and directed to sign the agreement on behalf of the township.
Is there support?
Support.
There is support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. We'll move down to items of new business and item number 9, the Eden County Road Commission Road Millage Program. Brian, did you want to walk us through that or do you just want a motion?
A motion is fine, but this is just something we do every year and you can, pretty self-explanatory in the memo. We, drove the streets, took a look at them. We did add in one suggestion based on, the board's, feedback. Again, this is not really in our control, but they do, out of courtesy, ask the township for, our, feedback. So, I think, the kind of feedback stands for itself and.
Actually, this is something I don't think we need to do each year. This is a informal conversation. Brian tells us what they're proposing. We say we're okay. He can call back up and say we're okay. I don't know why we need a formal vote, but we do.
I agree.
I do have a question. When we finish the sheriff's substation, in case my memory's gone by then, can we ask that administration drive be on the
That's what it's.
Yeah.
next
Yeah,
action list?
that has actually been on there. We've asked them to
Right.
postpone that till
Okay.
the project is done.
Those are-
Obviously, it's taken a beating right now, so,
It's really now with this, it's even worse semi-traffic.
yeah,
Mhm.
it doesn't make any sense to do that until that
Right.
project is completed, so, and we're running out of years anyway, so we're down to the last couple years on the road millage, so it'll be on either next year or the following year.
Okay, great. Would anybody like to make a motion then? Rhonda?
I move that the Delta Township Board authorize the township manager and or township engineer to advise the Eaton County Road Commission that Delta Township takes no exception to the proposed 2024 millage program projects as documented in the attached project map. I request that Eaton County Road Commission consider Davenport Drive, yay, when finalizing plans for 2024 millage program projects. I further request that the Eaton County Road Commission staff coordinate with the township staff for sidewalk repair efforts and construction scheduling.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Item number 10, the Sharp and Hunters Orchard Park Design Build Bidding and Construction Proposal. It's a pleasure of the board of that. Andrea.
I move that the Delta Township Board contract with Veritas Design Group for the purpose of providing professional services for the Hunters Orchard Park Pathway TF 19-0068 project at a cost not to exceed $48,400, and the Sharp Park renovations LW 26-001-852 project at a cost not to exceed $80,980. Further, the township manager is hereby authorized and directed to sign and execute an agreement for said professional services on behalf of Delta Township.
Is there support?
Support.
There is support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Item number 11, the St. Joe Highway Water Main and Pathway Project Bidding and Construction and Engineering Services. What's the pleasure of the board on that item? Beth.
I move that the Delta Township Board accept the proposed contract modification from Tetra Tech for the purpose of providing professional bidding and construction phase services for the St. Joe Highway Water Main and Pathway Project in an amount not to exceed $538,200. Further, the township manager is hereby authorized to sign and execute an agreement for said services on behalf of Delta Township.
Is there-
Support.
There is support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Brian, managers report.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just two things. One project our staff's been working on and Peter in particular that you may have seen, they finally made it public, that Anna's house is coming. So they'll be moving into the old tin can and doing some renovations in there. So kind of a restaurant. They have one over in Meridian Township. So it's kind of exciting news, good breakfast stuff. Then also you may have seen, I put something in my manager's report or manager's minute about the FEMA presidential declaration. So it's a little bit confusing and complex. So they have approved the individual declaration. So individuals who had damage to their house or business are going to be able to get some assistance. However, today the public assistance was denied. So that included Delta Township, Grand Ledge, other municipalities from 9 different counties for that same storm. So we'll wait to see if the state of Michigan will either appeal that ruling or we'll turn our sights to, hopefully potentially receiving some state assistance, which probably would be a little bit less, but we are still hopeful at the end of the day, we will get some reimbursement for some of the costs. I mean, the good thing for us is we had healthy savings and able to absorb the costs that we faced if none is forthcoming. So we're in, okay shape, but it would be nice to get some funding for those unplanned emergencies, that type of thing. So that is all I had but I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
Brian, I just had a question on that. Can you remind me what that amount, the expenses the township had from the storm? Do you know roughly what that figure was?
I I don't have it in front of me, but if my memory serves me correct, it was roughly around 150,000.
Okay. Thank you.
But I can get that number.
Any other questions for Brian? Nope. Okay, thanks, Brian. Move to the committee of the whole discussion, and first item is item number 12, the board compensation discussion. And this is something that our policy just says that we will hold before the start of a new term, but it doesn't mean that any changes or anything needs to be made to the board compensation. It just says that we should take a look at it and see if there's anything we want to do. So I don't know if there's any desire to even make any changes or anything. We don't need to do anything. It's just the policy says we review it before the start of a term. So it's basically just open for discussion to see where people want to go on that. I'd say there's no need to change anything and leave it as is.
Well, I spoke with, or asked Brian earlier if we would be getting additional information here at the meeting, and his staff was not able to do that, but we had talked maybe about looking at comparables and other elected officials at the township level around the area. I'm just curious to look at where we are based on population size and, you know, I don't know, number of duties, number of meetings, you know, whatever that workload is, that sort of thing. So just like to voice that that's the kind of thing I'd like to see before we vote on the 4th.
I concur with Beth. I sent an email to Brian earlier today, just saying, I think the last time we looked at this, we looked at comparable data within our region for townships that are comparable to us. So I'd like to see the data. I don't know that I agree with elevating us up, but I'd like to look at the data before making a decision.
Well, there's, just for point of reference, there's only one township comparable. We're kind of between Delhi and Meridian in size, and that's it. We're the 54th largest jurisdiction in the state of Michigan, and that includes cities. So
Well, I remember we looked at 3 or 4 different, I don't
I'm
know.
just saying they're not
communities, so
necessarily
It may not be the
comparable.
same, but
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Brian was able to provide us with some good data that really helped to look at the bigger picture. So I'd like to see that same type of data.
Well, I think size and population is even more important than necessarily regional. So if we are comparable to, say, a township down in the Detroit area, we should look at that, you know, size, population wise, and see, you know, what their lift is, what they're paying their people. These amounts here on this memo, these are what will be, this will be the wage schedule for this is the wage schedule for this year, and that's higher than last year.
Correct.
And that's the cost of living.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
it was either 4 years ago or 8 years ago, I can't remember, we changed the board compensation policy to just tie cost of living to whatever the full-time and part-timers get.
Well, we don't really change the policy. It was. It's made available if the board wants to do it. I'm not sure if it necessarily changed the policy. That was something that was always something that was considered. We just hadn't done it in quite a while.
So according to this, then the clerk salary is going up $11,000 and the supervisor goes up
Oh, from the
3+%
was from 2020.
Okay, so it's been incremental since then.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh,
So,
that was
yeah, these
2020.
in the memo are the salaries for 2024. I apologize if that wasn't clear. So
Okay.
the 2020 policy had it at that time
Mhm.
for 2020. So this is after 4 years of,
Okay.
Beth, the Charter Township Act requires
Mhm.
that, so it's on a 4-year, so that's why it goes, the comparison is 20.
So, so for something like your position, with all of your experience and everything, we look at this and you're full-time and all the things that you do, that seems commensurate with your experience and what you do. What if someone is, someone who is elected clerk, they come in with no experience? I mean, usually a job, you're paid commensurate to your experience and what you bring to the job. Now, I know elected positions are different, but I guess my question is, do any of these ever go down? Or do they always just go up?
they cannot go down once during the term. It's,
Okay.
I think that, and Mary might know, the Charter Township Act says you can only,
Only if you reduce responsibilities.
Now, if you guys want the long-term history of the township, it has gone, they have gone down before, way back in 1988, when the clerk stepped down. She actually ran for another office, but when she stepped down and they knew a new clerk was gonna be coming in, they actually lowered the salary. And Janice Vedder got elected and she realized that she was gonna make a lot less than what she thought she was gonna make. And that kind of caused a lot of problems over a
goodness.
decade of service, a couple decades of service. But so it has been lowered before.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I know.
Brian, when you bring back the data, can you show us where we are today? Because it's like, these are the projected numbers, right?
no, that.
Oh, is this
that's
where we are today?
where
Okay.
you are today.
So then you'll show us the projected as well,
Well, we won't, I mean,
or an estimate?
I can do that, but that, the estimate would be on the, I guess, the future cost of living, which we usually make a recommendation on that during the budget
Right.
year, so I wouldn't know unless we put in some type of proxy number, but I think, board members could make, calculations themselves based, 2% or 3% or 4%. We've had a couple larger cost of living with the escalation of inflation the last couple of years. I don't know if
Well,
that
is
will
there,
continue the
is the
same.
cost of living that we currently have going to change in 2025?
Yeah,
Changes every year.
typically
So it changes every year.
yeah.
I mean, I guess what I was trying to say is there some contractual, are the other employees, not other employees, do they have a cost of living figure that's going into 2025?
Well,
Or
actually,
it's
no. See, each year we look at what inflation and then the
And
board
decide if that-
decides if we
As
want to
part
give
of
the
budget
employees a
that
raise.
is approved.
And then we decide if we
Okay,
want to
what's
also
the
give it to
contractual?
ourselves. So it's all up to this board. So
Yeah.
there's nothing locked in stone. There's no policy set in place. It's each year. If the board wants to do something, then
We
we're
can.
able to do something after we look at what cost of living is by the government standards and stuff.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to the Parks Annual Report. Is Mark, I don't see Marcus. Are we gonna have a Parks report?
Yes, he's on right now.
Hey, everyone, how are you?
Hello. Oh,
He's coming virtually today.
Yeah, let me see if I can get this going here. Thanks to Mary Rowland for helping me get set up. Hopefully you can see that.
Not yet.
Yeah, Marcus
see
felt
you.
ill this weekend. Wanted to be here and I encouraged him to do it remotely.
No, we don't want him to
to-
go.
Share your
I
screen,
have a
Marcus.
big election. Thank you, Marcus, for not coming.
But if he's ill, he should be taking the day off.
Yeah,
Are you feeling well enough?
Even virtually.
Hey, I'm trying to get this report up. Is it showing at all?
and we don't have a copy.
No.
Marcus, did you share your
It's not in
screen?
our Portal.
Yes, all right. Share. Okay, here we go.
There we go.
How we doing there?
Perfect.
Good.
got it.
Supervisor Fletcher and Board, thank you so much for allowing me to join you. You know, I like to spice things up and change things up in the annual report, but I did not anticipate this. So I am, again, happy to be here and share with you some of the wonderful things that were done in the Parks Department for 2023, but wanted to mix it up a little bit this year and just kind of share it through the eyes of our staff. I know we talk all the time about the staff and their many contributions and the things that they do, but I did a little differently this year. I put it out to them and asked them to write kind of an annual report of things that they've done during the year that were successful, challenging, and so on. So with that, we'll jump right into it. Again, starting with our recycling program, you're aware of the agreement that we have with Granger since 2006. And then the 2015 agreement that allowed for the curbside recycling. This is Granger's report here that shows some annual numbers as we deal with participation from residents of eligible residents has increased about 1%. And you continue to see a little bit of increase. So Delta residents are certainly taking advantage of the opportunities. And then you can see the pounds recycled at the drop-off center, which is the recycling center as they term it there. And then curbside or street side as they call it there. And you can see some growth in the curbside pickup, which is great that our residents are increasing their recycling. And we anticipated that would probably eliminate some of the needs to our recycling center. And you can see here where some of the amounts from Granger's report shows that there was a little bit of a decline in the drop-off location. Here, I'll start to highlight a little staff folks as we go through it. Anton Woods here is part of our halls and ground staff, but he's listed here with recycling because as a result of the storms in August and as well as some staff absences, Anton stepped up and did a lot of recycling work this year. And that's one of the great things about our staff is we're able to move staff around from area to area, department to department, and pick up kind of where we're needed. And that storm came through and it made us all stop and kind of regroup. And he was one that really stepped up and helped at the debris site as well as the recycling center. So if you take a look here, you can see some of these are our annual totals. Let me see if I can, there we go. I can move that out of the way. Our annual totals here were broken down by quarter, and we do report these by quarter to Eaton County Resource Recovery. But just kind of get a look at what we continue to take at the recycling center. The basics that Granger picks up and takes care of, down to the electronics and batteries that the electronics, we still work with Comprenew out of Grand Rapids, a nonprofit. Batteries and cell phones are handled by Eaton County Resource and Recovery. So you just get a good look at those there. Then we kind of break into the last few years, and you can see how some of the recycling is going down in terms of, I think here in the top section, grass and leaves were the main ones. And I think a lot of it has to do with the storm and the debris site. We didn't report any debris site stuff here, which we do think there was an impact on the usage at the recycling center based on that debris site. And then some of the other recyclables down there that you get a sense of. And these are kind of up and down from year to year, depending on whether it's the glass and the box boards and so on. Now we start to get into recycling events. We highlight Johnny Milan, who's a park maintenance. Johnny works a lot with our Eaton County road crew. So he's done a lot of projects with them, and they're very instrumental in a lot of these recycling projects that we run for our residents, doing anything from providing residents drive up and their cars unloaded for them to helping them, load things up and or certainly removing afterwards. But you can see here with some of the events that we continue with was the spring cleanup, and that's a collaboration with Eaton County Resource Recovery, where we offer a free yard waste day on Thursday in May, and then Eaton County Resource Recovery takes over the entire block, if you will, of that area, and they run a big event on that Saturday. Christmas tree recycling continues at the park maintenance building, although we introduced the recycling center as a site there because of the construction of the sheriff's building and really trying to push folks out to the recycling center there, but still received a lot of trees there at that site. String light recycling continued, de-leafing, which is really huge between October and December, which is free for our residents. You get a sense of 110 pounds collected, and then also at a cost of roughly $29,000 to $30,000 a year that we supplement that for our residents. And once again, the Eaton County Road Crew and our staff are very instrumental in that. Staff-wise, we brought on 2 new full-time employees and 1 part-time coordinator who were just wonderful additions. we'll start with our seniors, our 39ers. As you know, our 39ers have been very involved in the COLT project as we work towards that becoming a new location for us. But just some of the things that were done in 2023, participation was certainly up. New programs being introduced, sense of balance. As you might imagine, I know for me as I have become a senior, that balance is important. And one of the programs that had a lot of participants there, and also the trips. We put a lot of emphasis on trips as we were working with the Savvy Seniors, once known as the Senior Council, with coming up with trips that were a little more appealing to some, if you will, but certainly did a great job with those. And you can see where the majority of those were full and a couple were canceled. But you see things like the Toledo Museum of Art and Glass Pavilion was a new one. Kalamazoo Air Zoo was a new one, and then the Wine Bus Toledo was also a new one. So, it's very exciting to add new there. And then just some of the attendance for our 39ers program, you can see like the card games, have certainly increased, as well as our fitness programs have increased. So 2 interesting points there when you look at some of the programs that folks use us for. You can certainly get a good feel for just what we mean to so many different folks when you see numbers increase in card plan and you see numbers increase in fitness programs and so on. One of our new additions was Ethan Ward, our aquatics coordinator. And if you guys are very familiar with things, the market as you have it, lifeguards are very hard to find. Coordinators are almost impossible to find, but we found one and we found a good one. Ethan came aboard after we finished the renovations at the Waverly Pool, and he has worked on updating safety and maintenance supplies. He's increased the number of lifeguards from 1 to 4. He's also trained lifeguards. We have a new program. We're able to bring back family swim, evening water aerobics we're able to bring back, and the revenue increase in 2023 from 2022, with the caveat there was very little revenue in 2022 because the pool was down for a lot of time. But we are trending in the right way with our programs and services, and therefore the revenue will also do that as well. And just a quick look at some of the participation there, but just very excited about the pool, not only because of the additions or the renovations, but that we have staff and we're bringing programs back, because that pool means so much to so many folks, and we're able to really program it. Mark Sanford was one of our full timers that we added this year, recreation specialist. And I'll just go ahead and go back to a couple of his things here. Some of the things Mark was able to do in 2023, and he's a Delta resident, so he's familiar with the area. He's not new. He's in the sports world, but just some of the stuff that he was able to hit the ground running was to increase our adult softball. He resurrected, well, there's a good word, resurrected the church league, excuse me, from 0 teams in 2022 to 6 in 23. Our youth football grew and increased. And here you can also see some of the other adult sports as we work to improve those and even bring some back. I know adult volleyball is one that he spent a lot of time on, and we're able to increase the number of teams there. Our youth sports, just to give you a look here, you can look and see some of the increases. I know a lot of these increases, I have said over the years, have been as a result of having Mount Hope Park, which is true, but we continue to keep those, and we continue to bring in new, and Mark has done a phenomenal job with that in 2023. Our baseball T-ball numbers are showing a little improvement, although there's still a million places out there to play baseball and T-ball for our residents. And that, as I mentioned, flag football, and then some of the other youth sports that we have going on. Kathy and the wonderful events that she has put on. You guys know we went to Delta Rocks all summer, a summer or two ago. So kind of a change in how we do things, but very exciting outcomes. The 2 new Kids Day events, certainly great turnouts there. we were involved in National Night Out with the Sheriff's Department this year and you know, able to work with the Touch Truck there. So able to really just adjust and work with other departments while adding new and adding components to what we do, as opposed to, you know, always just starting out with the new event, because we can always add new components and improve what we have, and been very fortunate with that. And, you know, certainly the helicopter was a big hit at National Night Out, and just a great collaboration with, you know, the Eaton County Sheriff's Department and working together. So, and then just some of the numbers from the daddy-daughter, I'm sorry, the special events. You know, those big old favorites, the daddy-daughter dances and the mother-son and mother-daughter dances. We just did the 2024 daddy-daughter dance last week at the venue in the Lansing Mall. So that was another great event, shifted locations there, but worked out very well, very exciting times, and just some of the other things that are going on in our special events. Corey Zaverna is another new addition to our staff, and just kind of a well-rounded young lady, and, you know, so many talents that she brought to the table, helped us in so many ways. You know, anything from modernizing, revitalizing our correspondence, which was huge for us in increasing communication, updating our forms, and I'll touch on a couple of these as we kind of get into them. These are just some of the things that she's done. You know, taking what we've done in the past, what we've had in the past, and just adding, as well as adding new, just some of the communication. The memorial bench was a great one, because we still get lots of calls, and it's kind of nice that, you know, we're able to just send folks the brochure to kind of get them started. Down to the recycling centers, kind of revamping that, and really providing good, consistent information on our website, as well as our newsletter. And then working with all other folks in the department, just really upgrading how we're communicating our programs. And then also working with the registration piece, and then how we communicate to participants, whether it's online communication with teams and practices and things like that. So certainly excited about that. Corey's also working with us on the COPE project, as I mentioned earlier, working in a role where doing research as well as designing new. She's worked with us on fire department and revamped the Pacers Walking Club in the Lansing Mall, which is a very popular one that some of you may remember. That over time, I know during COVID, you know, we could do it, couldn't do it, and so on, but, you know, we have revamped that, so we're excited. And then some of the other pieces here, you know, just really upgraded our game in terms of communication and so on. She's also has some program responsibilities with providing leadership with the tennis program, where we work with Court One. Court One provides us with tennis instructors, and then the Grand Ledge Country Club on the golfing piece. Lee Miller, you know, has been around for a while. Everyone's familiar. He's taken on a couple different roles. He's worked on pollinator gardens at Hawk Meadow over the last year. Really done a phenomenal job with researching, doing grants, and then even down to working with our maintenance department as far as installation of nonverbal communication boards at the playground, Sharp Park, and Mount Hope. And we're currently working on one for Delta Mill. Oh yeah, there we go. We're going for Delta Mills. He has worked with the Mom to Mom cell. If you guys are familiar with that, that thing has grown by leaps and bounds. We do it twice a year. Just a tremendous event. And quite honestly, my daughter attended, because, you know, I have a 4-month-old granddaughter, the Mom to Mom cell. So that was kind of great for her to be able to go there and take advantage of a program like that. And then some of the other programs that Lee provides, not necessarily seniors or 39ers, but just to our adult population, some of the aerobics classes that we have. And we have, in addition to the Enrichment Center, have maximized, well, I shouldn't say maximize, we have used the community center more, both levels, to offer classes and so on. So we're very excited about the increase in participation. And I'll tell you, sign up for these classes is always a challenge. You know, these classes fill up fast, and we're constantly looking for ways to add more to accommodate more folks, but they're very popular. And our instructors do a phenomenal job, as well as our staff that have to manage those. Jake Johnson is in our maintenance department. He handles a lot of our invasive species management. He's certainly certified there. But just a quick update of some of the things that we've done. We continue our work at Grand Woods and a few other places, just monitoring, working with Eaton County Conservation and some of the things that we've done. So this is the fig buttercup. But Jake and as a part of the parks maintenance crew, keeps an eye on that stuff and works with our staff and again those agencies to make sure that we're doing what we need to do on an annual basis. And we know it's a huge challenge, but very fortunate to have Jake doing that. Halls and ground crew, everyone knows Mr. Delta, Marty Disbro, and Chris Hasse have been with the township for a number of years. You may or may not know Marty just recently retired. And we'll be coming back to you, at some point soon announcing that. But they provide leadership of the enrichment and community centers, and you can see here just with the number of rentals increasing, the work that they must do, not just throughout the week but also on the weekend. And Anton Woods, as I mentioned earlier, from the recycling, is also part of this crew. So these are the folks who are inspecting the rentals afterwards and then cleaning as needed to prepare for other rentals. But you can see here in the Enrichment Center, 69 rentals. And we did for 2023, we only rented the Enrichment Center on Sundays as we started moving more programs towards Saturdays as we were faced with some of the challenges in some of the rooms. So we had to kind of restructure, regroup what we were doing and move some programs to Saturdays, therefore taking away some of the rentals at that location on Saturday, but still having a number of things done. We continue to monitor the air quality there, working with our HVAC companies. We've added dehumidifiers and air purifiers, but we are monitoring that location daily and then certainly working to get out of there as well. The community center, 122 rentals still, man, we have one of the best deals around. Rentals, folks book well in advance, open houses, wedding receptions, and so on. But we did last July run into a bit of a challenge where the building was struck by a vehicle and, had some damage there. We certainly worked and through the manager's office and with Courtney to work through the insurance to get that done. But we had 14 rentals that we had to rehouse. We couldn't just turn our backs on folks, who were scheduling big time events for them and their families. So we were able to rehouse those 14 events. It all worked out well. And then also we were able to move some of our classes to the Great Lakes Christian College and so on. So very, very fortunate to deal with the challenges that we did, but also to serve our residents and then also provide them with locations to have those events. And then just finally on the picnics and the shelters and pavilions, just 341 rentals. As you know, those are very popular times too. And then some of the dollars just attached to that, the rentals at the classes, pretty significant amount of revenue generated through those rentals at both the community center and enrichment center as well, and the shelters and the pavilion. Our park maintenance is led by Pat Scheiden. He's our supervisor. As I mentioned, they are tied to really everything we do. Anytime we do anything from talk about a special event to elections to any projects, our guys are tied to it. So although I'm trying to depict them in different locations here, they're tied to everything, as we all are. So, but just showing a little bit of the staff and how we're operating as we continue to pretty much provide those services, but then also add to what we have and what we must take care of here. Dan Brush is our park maintenance crew leader. He's kind of been our Mount Hope guy over the years in terms of anything from design and planning to operating, maintaining the turf, the grass out there, as well as the pathways and so on. But just some of the things that, we're focused on in 2023 here that include the 2023 projects. The perimeter pathway and the ball fields are scheduled to both be done in the spring. The pathway is pretty much in. There's some landscape stuff that's still required, and the ball field should be done in the spring as well. And then the communication board that was mentioned earlier. Delta Mills project in 2023. I mean, the cricket pitch is huge. The pickleball shade structure, which was funded by the Delta Area Pickleball Association, as well as the storage, and then the paved parking for the all restroom building. The cricket field here you can see took place on August 23rd with the grand opening. Lansing Cricket League, Lansing Sports Commission, elected officials, thank you board members and commission members, elected officials who joined us there. I was also invited to the league's end of season event where I was able to attend, and they asked me to help present the awards. I mean, they're just so appreciative to have a pitch, and so appreciative of Delta Township for taking that first step and offering a pitch. But cricket is certainly one that we'll continue to work with, have meetings coming with them as to how we plan for 2024. But, just very thankful that we were able to add that cricket pitch. Here are a couple guys, Kyle and Dustin, pretty much operate our cemeteries. I do have them here. I know Clerk Clark will be reporting a lot on the cemeteries, but here I do show them in the cemetery because we did have extensive damage and during the storms over the late summer. And I hope in hearing the earlier question, I may have this number correct, but the debris site that we house, I think we spent about $109,000 when you start to count the number of pickups that we have, and close to 3,000 cubic yards of debris collected. And then power outages that were resulted. So everyone's familiar with the storm. It hit us differently in terms of cemetery. I do recall, and very thankful for our staff as well as our clerk's office, because we actually had a burial on that Saturday and couldn't even get into the cemeteries. And within a matter of 24 hours, there was a path clean, and then a vault that was dropped off by the company. And I, on my way home that night, just rode and made sure that the vault was there, and the guys came in the next day and took care of it. So, it's one of the situations where the show had to go on, and I'm very thankful that we have a hardworking, dedicated staff that made that happen. I've mentioned the code project several times. Just a quick look here. You guys are all familiar with the wonderful opportunity that we have to convert part of Code Elementary into a senior center. Township staff, we've been working very hard as a whole. I know working with the manager's office with Brian and Aaron, as well as a couple of our staff folks, we've been meeting almost weekly, either with or without the Waverly folks. But just an idea of what we've done so far. We met with the Savvy seniors early on to kind of get a sense of just what our seniors think they want to see in a location like this. We visited several senior facilities, talked to folks there. We've held design meetings with Waverly as well as the coach staff as to how we would coexist in the building and so on. And then we're talking about the highlighted area that's going to be our area there. So what needs to be done is finalize design, because this project needs to be bidded, I guess, by the end of the year. So we're working there. And yeah, so just very excited about the code project. I talked with Representative Whitworth today just to bring her up to speed on where we are. So very excited that the Delta Township could benefit from a huge collaboration of folks to provide our seniors with a brand new facility.
Marcus, before you move on, could we continue to look at that one there? So you said the highlighted, the yellow part?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Would be?
Yes, yeah, this is the current Colt school. So the Colt Elementary, it's a preschool program, would have their front section, and we would have there, and we're working on interest there and so on. But we would have a number of classrooms, as you see there, gymnasium. And we're working to have like a welcoming area, as folks walk in, but multi-purpose type rooms, although 1 or 2 rooms could be quote unquote permanent type, depending on what we set the equipment, like a computer room or so on.
And what kind of parking is there going to be available?
We are currently working on that. Yes, we would have our own parking lot. Colt would have theirs. I know right now we're kind of exploring to see if they need to be overlapped in any way. I was a little surprised, but I know Colt, the way that the kids are brought to school, all the parents park. So there's a large number of spots needed for just those few minutes while they take them in. But yet we will have a separate parking lot that, certainly will accommodate what we have. And then how do we work together to have the overflow? So there'll be plenty of parking, a nice entrance. I know one of the things we've been pushing, and I shared this with Representative Whitworth today, is a big focus right now is on the first 90 seconds of when you drive up, what do you see getting off of Michigan? And then how is the building inviting? And once you're in the building, what do you walk in on, whether it's a lobby area and so on. So I guess, to say that parking is a big part of what we're thinking and working on right now, and then also the interest area.
Absolutely, because that has always been my number one concern about combining an elementary or daycare school with a senior center is, like you said, that drop off and pickup time can be pretty chaotic. And I would hate for our seniors to get caught up in that. And yeah, maybe it's only like a half hour, but it's a pretty crazy half hour. So I'm pleased to hear that they would have a separate parking lot. Plus, they're gonna have different needs for their parking, different kinds of accessibility. Perhaps we could even explore the possibility of wider parking spots, which would be nice to make it easier to park there. So I would ask on behalf of myself and perhaps the rest of the board, if you could keep us updated on this as it goes on, because this is something I'm really interested in seeing as it develops, as you go forward, please.
Yeah, and I would just say too that we had the conversation last week about the pickup and drop off, and really getting a sense of what the school is going to need, and if there are amenities that we're going to share, how we're going to work together on those. And we talked about, will our seniors have to wait in line to get to the senior center if they're doing the pickup? And so we're looking at a number of entrances and exits so that we can prevent that and so on. But thank you for those comments.
See, if I could real quick, we will have more regular updates now because we are in more of the schematic designs.
Great.
There'll be more the pictures and stuff. There is, as Marcus mentioned, we are in kind of a fast pace now because it is the ARPA money or COVID money. So it has to be bid out and under contract by the end of this year as part of the state award we received.
Okay.
Very similar to the Willow lift station
Mhm.
funds that we received. So it should be progressing along pretty quickly now till the.
And will
end of
any funds come from the township directly? Or, the state funding's coming through the township, but will we be asked to put any extra money in?
Not
Not
to my
to your
knowledge,
knowledge,
no.
okay.
No, at least for this project, it's through Waverly, so.
Okay. And these will be only senior facilities, Marcus, so we won't be having, like adult non-senior classes here or anything like that?
We will do some programming for non-seniors. I mean, over time, it's been called seniors, been called multi-generational. We'll do some, maybe even some youth things as well. But primarily it's gonna, it's gonna be for the seniors, but again, there'll be some other programming going.
Okay, thank you.
And finally, grants, I touched on the 2019 projects. I feel like we're getting back in the flow now, getting these projects going and so on. So very excited about that. And thank you for earlier approving the Hunter's Orchard and Sharp Park work, or at least the design work to be done there. So very excited to get those going as well. But just a quick look over 2019, 2020, and then more importantly, what we're proposing for 2024. after meeting with our internal grants department, that includes a host of township departments, we've arrived at the Delta Mills Park to Hawk Meadow Park pathway, which you've heard several different capacities. We did receive an Eaton County grant for a design fee there, and there's grants out for TAP funding and so on. But we'd like to also seek trust fund, the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grant process to receive $300,000 for the estimated 2.3 costs there. And then a newer one, the Mall Ivan Elmwood pathway, which we're very excited about because it's going to include Lake Iris. I mean, yes, that is a park for us, Lake Iris. But more importantly, really working between Lake Iris and Sharp and even Waverly schools to improve pathways there. I mean, selflessly for our students walking in those areas, but also, connecting neighborhoods to parks and things of that nature. So we'd like to be considered for another $300,000 grant to help with that. And there are some other funds there. And then we would seek a third grant in 2024. It's a Sharp Park Playground, being that Sharp is our oldest of our playgrounds there, but we would apply to that from the county. And then here we just have a quick map of the Delta Mills to Hog Meadow pathway. As I've mentioned, we've shared it several times before, but really working on getting over the river to connect those two parks, and very excited about that opportunity. We put a lot of work into it, and really want to over 24 through 26, I guess, really get that done. So, and then the second one is the Mall Ivan Elmwood pathway. Here's just some information. I'll leave it up for you, but really is a great connector, not only to the east-west pathway in Sharp Park, but now you start talking about us getting Michigan and working towards Waverly, because we have pathways there and snow and so on. So just really kind of provide even more connectivity there as well. And then just another look at that proposed pathway, but seeing how it connects Lake Iris and Sharp Park is what we'll call it in terms of a pathway. And then finally, the playground structures that we want to do as part of the Sharp Park redevelopment master plan. There, and that'll be one that we would apply later in the year to Eaton County. So with that, I would certainly look to take questions, but ask the board's approval to call a public hearing. Well, ask the board's approval to move to a public hearing phase, and as you consider us writing those 2 grants to the DNR, because that's required for this process, and open it up for questions.
Marcus, I just want to say, I really like this report. I liked how you highlighted the employees and showed what they, the areas that they work in. I think that's very helpful and beneficial. I just had one comment. I've been getting complaints, surprisingly, since winter, about dogs off leash in Mount Hope Park. People are walking the pathway and people are having dogs off leash who are running up and jumping on people and stuff. And I've had like several in the past couple months complaints of dogs running loose at Mount Hope.
Yeah, unfortunately, that continues to be a challenge at many parks. We know it's certainly an ordinance, and unfortunately, we don't have staff or sheriff there. Folks will do it. I mean, a lot of folks just seem to think, well, the dogs are friendly, so it's not a big deal. But we just have to get back to posting signs and encouraging people to keep them on leashes.
Yeah, I think we need to have bigger, more signs, just making that clear to people that it's not an open field for dogs to run around. Mary?
So along that line, then I really had something else to say, but that is a county ordinance, the leash law. But is it only, Brian, can you find out, is it only Eaton County Sheriff's Office staff that can issue violations, or who can issue violations? Because I'd be happy to. I've been begging for a ticket book for a lot of things, so.
Dangerous.
But can you just check
Yeah.
that out
I can
at some
look at
point?
that.
No rush, but you can just put it in a communication. You don't have to come back here. But I want to acknowledge the clerk's office works very closely, really with a lot of departments in the building, but especially with parks. And you just have fabulous staff, because sometimes our things are, you got to drop what you're doing and do what we need now because it's driven by a death, an immediate need, or whatever those, or election catastrophes. So I do, Marcus, want to acknowledge to you and hope you'll share with your staff how important they are to the total functioning of the township, and they do a wonderful job. They really do. They're very patient, they're very talented, and they're team players.
Thank you
So-
both for that. Yeah, thank you both. I appreciate that. And I'll definitely pass it along.
And I want to give a special shout out to Corey. She's done a phenomenal job with her design stuff. She's very creative. She puts forth, she's very proactive. She's done a really, really nice job. She was a good catch.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. Thank you.
Andrea.
Yeah, Marcus, thank you. Great presentation, and the whole team doing a wonderful job with our parks. I just had a question kind of back to the beginning of your presentation on recycling. Do you get data back from Granger? You know, I know sometimes those recycling markets can fluctuate, and so I didn't know if you get data back on potentially how much material is collected but not recyclable, or, you know, when there are issues with markets. So, and I'm not sure what they might do with materials that are being collected that there isn't a market for recycling at times. You know, I know that's happened. And I just didn't know if you ever had any feedback in that regard. Or is it just being disposed of in their landfill, or I don't know, just helpful to know anything in that sense, any reporting you get back.
No, that's a great question. As a whole, we are recognized as one of the cleanest collectors out there. Now, granted, we do have our challenges. We don't necessarily get anything back from Granger. And I don't know if that's because we don't have a lot, or if they just don't, because, you know, they take it from there. And because we are a facility that is staffed when we're open, I think we overall do a better job and educate our folks as to how to recycle and so on. Now, we have had some challenges in, you know, some other areas, like, for example, batteries that goes to the county and to a different vendor, with some of the things that have been found in those, that we have had to go a couple steps further to kind of go through all of those that are dropped off before we send them off. So I guess I say all that to say, yeah, we get some feedback as to, I guess, some dirty recycling, if you will, but also some unsafe things that may be there, but nothing at any level that has made us make any huge changes, other than just to double check some things, if that answers the question. And then keeping in mind too that Granger, they pick up certain pieces and then they sell. And as I've stated every year, you know, recycling companies are very guarded of their data. And so we'll get data from them, like for this presentation, and I'll get things from a quarterly report that I report to the county. And you know, there are times when I kind of look at it to try to see how close they are, and so on. But hopefully that answers your question, Andrea.
Yeah, I think so. And so if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying the vast majority of the materials that are collected by Delta Township or in Delta Township are recycled, truly recycled.
Yes, yeah. I mean, anything from the cooking oil that's picked up by Darpro, to the electronics by Comprenew, to the basics that Granger handles, and they bundle and sell. The county, anything from cell phones and batteries, and the American flags is handled by a Boy Scout troop. The bicycles that are going to a local group that teaches the kids how to fix the bikes and they keep the bikes and so on. So that's kind of a quick rundown of a little bit of what we do out there.
Well, I go out there all the time. I'm very aware, but thank you.
Sure.
I just wanted to say thank you to Marcus and the team as well. It's what we offer here in Delta Township is one of the things that I hear about when I'm trolling around the township about all the great services that we offer. There's so many places for people of all ages to go to. So I get to walk tall and proud throughout the township because of what you and your team do and how great it looks here. So thank you to everybody involved for the great work that they do.
Thank you.
One more question, Marcus. You made a sort of an off-head comment when you were talking about the enrichment center that you were looking for other opportunities to get out of the enrichment center. And I was wondering if you or your staff, if you're exploring any funding opportunities, partner opportunities, anything like that, to create a new community center.
I would say yes, we are always looking and considering anything from relocating of some programs, some services, whether it's our Richmond Center, other venues within the township, Waverly schools, in addition to the pool. And we use a gymnasium there for some youth programs and adult programs. We work with anything from Lansing City Arena to help coordinate any program opportunities, even down to if there's ever any I guess folks looking to, consider locations for indoor recreation facilities, how can we be a part of that? Because, there may be opportunities for us to lease some time during the day to run some programs. So we're always involved with those type of things. But really the focus right now is just taking care of what we're currently running and keeping them in a good, safe place, location, exciting, location, but working towards just really offering a lot more with the COAT project.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Marcus. We appreciate your report. I hope you feel better.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I guess I'll just need, and Manager Reed, please help me here. So the board to just call for a public hearing, right? And then I'll get off and go be sick.
Are we looking for a motion or a head nod?
Well, I think if we call for a public hearing to apply for the DNR grant, typically we would put it on the agenda to schedule a public hearing. When did you want to have that public hearing, Marcus? At the next board meeting?
Yes. Is that March yeah.
March 4th.
Yeah. It's in March.
Yeah,
So can we
that's fine.
have I guess have a motion to have a public hearing on the March 4th meeting for the 2 DNR grant submissions?
Do we usually do a motion to have a hearing, or do we just have a hearing?
We have to set it, so yeah.
Yeah, I think in the past, I've requested it through the committee of the whole, so I don't know how it works. This been a board meeting versus.
Oh, then if it's
Wasn't aware that we've ever taken votes.
If
to
it's just
set-
through committee of the whole, it's a head nod, then that's why I was asking, are you looking for a head nod or a motion?
I think for the DNR grants, Marcus, correct my memory, I don't think that we just have to have basically like a town hall meeting or a public, we just have to discuss it at a public meeting. I don't think it has to be an official public hearing that the board has to schedule. We just
I
have to
think-
publicize it as an opportunity, because in the past, we have had 1 or 2 years where we haven't had it at a regular board meeting. We've had it at, an outside event or something like that. So I think we just have to publicize it as that it was an opportunity for the public to speak about these grants and give that opportunity, correct?
Yes, give the opportunity, but I'm pretty certain the last few times they have encouraged the public hearing, we've done the public hearing. They've been the DNR. But as long as there's an opportunity with the board that we publicize for folks to comment on the grants, then we're covered.
So we'll include that on the March 4th agenda to have an opportunity for public input. The grant is due at the beginning of April. So in the meantime, if we have research that says it has to be an official public hearing, we can always schedule that March 4th for the March 15th or whatever date meeting that is.
March 18th.
March 18th. Is that okay, Marcus?
March 18th.
Yes.
Okay.
Sounds good. Sounds like a plan then. Okay.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Yep,
Thank you.
Marcus. Moving to the MISHDA planning grant, Peter.
Greetings all. Good
Sorry,
evening.
Peter, just for a minute. Marcus, can you stop sharing your screen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, and can we get that in electronic form?
All of those are stacked, so I'm gonna separate them out so you can see all the data.
Okay.
And I'll
Thank
send
you.
it to you.
Go ahead, Peter, you're up.
Ready? All right, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with the board tonight. So in your meeting packets on page 88, there's a memo for me, which I'm gonna go over right now. So I wanted to have something to follow along if you need to. So I'm pleased to share with the board an exciting opportunity. The township was selected for funding up to $50,000 for a MISHDA Housing Readiness Incentive Grant Program. So the focus of the grant, and those are MISHDA's words, and to implement actions that encourage and increase housing supply and affordability. So this grant provides funding to activities like costs, such as costs associated with adoption of land use policies, master plan updates, zoning text amendments, and similar actions to encourage housing, increasing housing supply, and increasing housing affordability. So the grant application that we submitted to MISHDA proposes to use grant funding in a couple different ways, but specifically to update the township's master plan with specific focus on housing. Excuse me. Activities described in the grant include assessing community housing needs and related utility capacity, evaluating the master plan land use designations, identifying areas in the community that might be appropriate for residential growth, and determining what type of housing the local market can support. So it's kind of like a housing study, but significantly more than that because it's related to zoning and then the township's code of ordinances. So this update would also seek to review the classification of properties to consider whether mixed use projects with multiple family dwellings, which is what's a mixed use development is required here, could be built at higher densities than currently permitted, and whether or not that's viable and desirable. And something I want to be really clear about, because I don't like to tie the hands of local officials. The grant application was written with enough flexibility so as not to commit the township to any particular policy change regarding housing, but instead to focus on kind of evaluating the housing market, both the current and the future land master plan designations and the future land use map, and then housing related zoning ordinance provisions, and let that resulting information determine if policy changes are needed. So it's kind of a follow the data approach, but also that the results of the work that would happen do not obligate any policy changes. The work may lead to recommendations, but ultimately it will be up to the board to determine if those changes are appropriate for this community. So you may be a little bit surprised to hear about this grant endeavor. It happened really quickly. The notice went out in December, kind of before Christmas holidays, and then it was due the second week in January. Or the third week in January, but it was, the way they described it, it was first come, first serve with a limited amount of money. So we wanted to get something out there, and that's why I emphasized kind of the generic flexibility nature of what the activities that we described in the grant. Just to get our foot in the door, reserve the funding for this community and go from there. So the plan would be this work would be conducted by a consultant that the township would have to go through a process to hire. And this is now our second grant with MISHDA, so we're working to kind of cement that relationship. And as over time, as that happens, we become more familiar with their process. They become more familiar and trusting in our ability to carry out work that we describe and propose. So I'm hoping that this is gonna hit a lot of different benefits for the community. And we're hoping to get started here in the next, well, we have to get started and be done in the next 2 years. But specifically, we'd be looking to bring this back to this group on the meeting on March 4 to agree to sign off on the grant agreement with Mishta. That's not particularly complicated, but it needs your approval. And then we could get started, seeking input from a variety of sources that we can kind of, I'll flesh that out in a future meeting, but just wanted to get this on your radar and let you know we're gonna be back soon, and then even more work to come down the road. Any initial questions about this?
Yes.
Yeah, Peter, thanks. Just a question on, you mentioned the 2 years, that's what's required. There's a 2-year time window
Yeah,
to kind of complete this assessment, I'm assuming, and make recommendations on if any potential changes. Is that your plan, is your expectation this process takes that long and you plan to take that long? Are you hoping to do sooner? I know the, the governor just made her budget recommendation last week, a lot in there on housing. And so I just don't know if, knowing there are resources and kind of immediate needs, is that you change that time frame at all, or are you trying to do it
not right
sooner?
now. I went for the maximum that the grant period allowed, assuming that the work has yet to be determined will be in depth and potentially complicated.
Yeah,
And housing issues in general are complicated for a variety of perspectives, so I didn't want to overcommit to anything specific. That being said, I mean, there is no specific expectation on timing or even more detail than kind of just the high level stuff that I mentioned. So it may take time to properly vet this stuff and get it into the community and get feedback. And I don't necessarily have a roadmap for that right now, but we'll back into that, I think, over the next month.
okay, thank you.
Well, I'll say congratulations. This is wonderful. This is great development for Delta Township so that we can open up our master plan and look at these kinds of things, because we know that we've talked about infrastructure, we've talked about housing and public transportation and all that sort of thing. So I encourage you to do this sooner rather than later. I'm really excited. I would love to, see some progress on it this year. So congratulations, and, so pleased to see these developments and here at the township.
Great. Any other questions for Peter? No?
Thanks. So it wasn't me alone.
Thank
It
you.
certainly worked with our team in the
You and your
manager's
team.
office. And you will see progress sooner than later. I just didn't want to kind of prescribe it all just tonight.
That's great. Just want you to know we have support from the board.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Peter. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next, I move that the Delta Township Board adjourn to closed session at the request of the Township Manager under the Open Meetings Act to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state or federal statute. Is there support? There is support. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on going into closed session?
Supervisor Fletcher?
Yes.
Marcus, yes. Treasurer Fedorowicz? Trustee Mohica? Trustee Cascarella?
Yes.
Trustee Brewer?
Yes.
Trustee Bowen?
Yes.
Motion.
I thought so. Yo.
We will go into closed session now.
Siri wants.
I don't know what
When
there is talking about. Right. Got a mind of her own. It's exciting.
Sheriff's Farm, I'm with the Active Violence Incident Team, and the Center for Homeland Security has, we're pretty lucky to get it, but they have a workshop coming April 17th, and it is for local electeds to understand their role and the implications of having something happen in your community. It's not open for registration yet. You can read a little bit about it. I will let you know as soon as it's open for registration, but you can put it on your calendar. We've been going through a lot of hoops and a lot of workshops and analysis with Homeland Security and that to position our community for the best possible. And you know that Eaton County is the lead in a multi-county area with ABI incidents. We actually, Scott Brooks was with Eaton County. He retired. He's now the assistant at City of Charlotte, and will continue in his role as lead on the ABI team. But it's made up of people from all jurisdictions from all over Eaton County. And they were the ones that responded to the MSU shooting. We invite different law enforcement agencies to come. The FBI's been to our meetings. Other ones float in and out. I will say that Michigan State is not one that commonly floats in, nor is East Lansing, but Ingham County, LPD, and a lot of those others are. But this would be, we would be really, really happy if we can get some representation from Delta electeds at this meeting. Because
It's my
God forbid
birthday,
that
but
we
I
should ever
I like
have
it anyway.
a need
Yeah.
for it, but we would have some familiarity.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
excellent.
thank you.
We need
Yeah.
this.
Unfortunately, yes.
Just information, right? So, yeah. no,
It's
that's great.
information only, right? And I'll let you know as soon as, and just if anyone's curious, we have 6,527 ballots out with 3,799 back, 58.2% right now.
Great. Well, good. Any other board member comments? We'll see no further business before us. We are adjourned.